Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pathways to Happiness podcast. My name is Nena. I'm a life coach that specializes in life transformation and personal development. And today we are going to be talking about the value of solitude and really the reasons why we need to be spending time alone. Now, in this crazy situation we are in right now, you may have a lot of time alone, or you may actually be struggling to find even 1 second to spend by yourself because all of a sudden you are working from home and maybe your entire family is there, the kids aren't in school. So, either way, we are going to talk about why solitude really is important, and if you are having a lot of time to spend by yourself right now, why you should really relish that time and utilize it to the best of your abilities. And if you have no time to yourself right now, I really hope this encourages you to find time to spend by yourself, because I hope to show you why that is so important. So before we jump into our topic, as always, just want to check in on everyone. If you're like me, you might be feeling like your feelings and emotions about the situation seem to be really shifting. So I know for a lot of people it started out with a lot of fear and anxiety, and then for a lot of people it started to become a lot of angst about being trapped in the house, and there's just a lot of different emotions going on. So again, we just have to really be patient with ourselves and really offer ourselves so much self-love and understanding during this time. So I hope everyone is doing well during this time. I hope everyone is healthy and safe. And of course, I want to thank you so much for your support, both here and on the Nena Lavonne YouTube channel. So without further ado, I want to hop into today's topic because I've been hearing from so many people that they are really feeling very claustrophobic right now. They feel like they don't have any time to themselves, or again, they are feeling the opposite, where they have so much time to be alone that it is starting to feel isolating for them. So let's talk about just the concept of solitude in general. Now, we know that right now we are going through a very, very unique situation, but I think that usually the art of solitude is really a lost art because we are usually so connected all the time. So it used to be that before the age of social media, we would be able to really go home when we are done with our workday, let's say, and have time to ourselves and have time to really kind of unwind and relax and collect our own thoughts. But now we are just so connected all the time. So we usually spend our day interacting with people, and then when we go to our home, we are still interacting with people because they are texting us, they are emailing us, we have our Twitter or our Facebook open. So we just never really have that time that we used to have on our own. And I really think there are a lot of psychological issues that can arise because of that. I think we really do need to have that time alone. And there are just so many benefits of seeking solitude, whether we realize it or not. I think the first thing that really tends to happen when we aren't getting that alone time is that we really start just getting annoyed, even with the people that we love, because, you know, too much is just too much. You start fighting about things that are inconsequential. You start noticing things that you find irritating about other people, or you start really letting small things bother you when normally you could brush them off. But when you don't have that time alone, all these things just become bigger. And unfortunately, if there are other people in the way, it really starts to affect these relationships, even when these people are really doing absolutely nothing wrong. It's just the fact that we need that time to ourselves. So when we really don't have that, it starts to bring out the worst aspects of our own personality. I can absolutely tell when I have not had that time for myself. And I am an extrovert, so I cannot even imagine what it is like for an introvert to have just tons of people around them all the time, or to simply just never have that time to themselves. And I know for a lot of people, the reason, especially right now, that they are not getting alone time is because they feel like they are being rude to their loved ones by telling them that they need this time to themselves. And we really have to understand that we are human beings and we all have needs. And solitude is actually a huge fundamental need. And I want to talk about really the strong benefits of seeking solitude in hopes that it does encourage you to have these conversations with your loved ones because honestly, they probably need alone time too. Maybe we are still in the phase where, it hasn't been that many weeks that everyone has kind of been together, but it is going to get increasingly important that we have time alone. And again, if right now you are having already so much solitude because you are living alone and we are practicing social distancing, I want to go ahead and really, again, talk about these benefits because this is a once in a lifetime situation and we want to kind of view it as an opportunity if you're having that time alone. And then I wanted to offer some suggestions on how we can find that time to be alone during this very unique situation where it can be kind of a challenge to even have that 30 minutes to yourself. So let's go ahead and talk about those benefits. And there are really just so many. So we'll hit upon some of them, but there are so many more. So the first one we kind of touched upon already, and that is how much time apart and that alone time really does enhance our relationships. We would think it would be the opposite, but that is indeed not the case. We really do need to take little breaks. We need to have some time to ourselves and some time apart. For the obvious reason, first of all, that we start getting annoyed with one another just because we are spending too much time together. Another thing is we start to forget who we are without the other person. We are having so much together time that we kind of lump into one person sometimes. And that's more in the case, of course, of a romantic relationship. Another thing that can happen is we just start getting bored with that person. We start wanting a change or seeking a change. But it's not really that we need a change. It's just because we are together 24/7, it starts to feel like we want a change. When really we just need some time apart. We just need to have time with ourselves. And that's usually really the only change that we actually need. Unless, of course, you are finding that this really is not the person that you want to be with in the first place. But that's a whole nother situation. But really, spending so much time together can really cause a lot of problems. So you want to make sure that you do take that break. So that's one of the benefits of solitude is having that break because it truly enhances your relationship because you get that time out that you actually need for so many reasons. Solitude also allows us to really unwind and truly be our authentic self. Now, I'm not saying that when we're with other people, we aren't authentic or we aren't being ourselves. However, when we are with other people, there is some degree of trying to entertain them or trying to, show our best self. And that can be very exhausting. There's no downtime that you would normally have. So when you have a chance to have solitude, you can really kind of reboot and take care of yourself, be yourself, have no distractions, and it just gives you that moment that you need to really think clearly, to focus and to clear your mind. It's really a great opportunity to kind of mentally rest and recharge. Another thing about solitude is it gives you that moment to remember who you are as a person. A lot of times, when you spend so much time with other people, without realizing it, we start to feel some social pressure, even from the closest people, even from our loved ones, even from the television. We start to get these influences that we feel like we should be able to filter out. But a lot of times, the more we start to hear something, the more it starts to make sense to us, or the more we start to identify with it, and we start to conform with things that normally we wouldn't, just because we're hearing it over and over and over. So when we have that time alone, it just lets us really think about what we do really believe, what we do really like, what we do really think, and we become much more, again, authentic to who we truly are as a person. And remember, as a person, we are a whole bunch of different things. We have a lot of different roles. And a lot of times, when we are, let's say, if we're with our parent, we are in the mode of being their child. We are in that role. And we are in that role much longer than we normally would be. And we start to ignore the other facets of our life. The same thing if our kids are home right now, we're used to them being at school, and we are all of a sudden a mom or a dad way more hours than usual. And a lot of times, that can just be completely overwhelming when we are used to having some kind of balance between the different roles that we have to play in our life. And by play, I simply mean the different hats that we have to wear as adults. So if we are feeling that, again, we are being a parent much more than usual, we can really start to feel that the other aspects of our life are really being neglected and suffering. We may not feel that we are a good wife or husband because we are just in mommy or daddy mode. And of course, that could apply for being a boyfriend or a girlfriend or just a friend in general. But when we have too much time in one specific role that we usually have that balance in, it does become very problematic. Another thing that can happen when we have solitude is that it can boost our creativity again, because usually when we have so much chaos in our life is cluttered, our mind is stuffed, and we don't have that avenue for creativity because we really don't have any downtime. So much of creativity, believe it or not, has to do with those quiet moments. It has to do sometimes even with boredom. That's when we get the ideas. We don't have great ideas when we have thousands of things to do and we are stressed and overwhelmed. So if we have the gift of time right now, where we can have a little solitude and a lot of time to really start to think deeply, we can really have a lot more creative ideas and think of new perspectives and new designs for our life. Another benefit of that wonderful solitude is that it really helps us to improve our concentration. So when we have, again, all these distractions all around us, all these people around us, all this noise, we really can't focus. And what ends up happening is we're really multitasking all day because we just don't have that moment to just sit and think clearly and focus on what we need to focus on. So when we are able to have that solitude, we're better able to actually concentrate, and that helps us to get things done in a much more efficient and productive manner. And that kind of goes hand in hand with being able to really think about problems and issues much more effectively. So when we are really distracted, again, by all these people and all these things going on, we're not going to have that clear sense of what we should be doing in different situations. We are going to have very muddled thinking. So we do need to have that alone time so we can kind of collect our thoughts, get our ideas together. And mainly the biggest thing is we just really do need time to rest and mentally recharge. It's just like meditation where we just focus inward and we have that time to just quiet everything else in our life so we can really just focus internally on our own self. And again, I hear all the time how much guilt is really associated with that desire to have that time for ourselves. But truly, 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 it is essential for our mental health, of course, but also our physical health, because when we are not feeling well emotionally, it starts to really influence our physical health in very negative ways as well. I think so much of the time we confuse being alone for loneliness. So, in a situation that is not in this kind of quarantine lockdown situation, a lot of times we really avoid spending time alone because we do feel that it is somehow having that association with loneliness. I think we also think that it has an association with selfishness, which couldn't be farther from the truth because, again, it really truly is a basic, fundamental human need. So, if we have that sense of guilt, we need to find a way to let that go because we have to understand that it actually makes us a better person. So, for example, if you are a parent, let's say, and you feel guilty needing some time away from your child, you have to know that that time alone is actually going to enhance your skills as a parent and is going to actually help you to regulate your emotions. Because, again, if you're spending so much time together, your emotions are going to be high. You're going to be very irritated by things that normally would bring you joy or that you could just, kind of shove off. But we need to be able to regulate our emotions. We need to be able to have that time to recharge again so that we can be that great parent, that we can be that great child, that we can be that great partner to somebody else. And especially now in this unique situation where we are probably feeling a lot more negative emotions than we're used to feeling. We may be feeling anxious or exhausted or stressed out, but we can really reduce the impact of these feelings when we can have time alone because sometimes all we need to do is go be alone, and that automatically makes us feel better. It's like we are kind of separating ourselves from that emotion. Now, that is not always the case, but certainly it is helpful. So, let's go ahead and talk about how right now we can find some time alone, especially if we are in a situation where we are in the house 24 hours a day because of this quarantine or we are on lockdown and we just have a lot more family time than we are used to. So, I think the first thing that we can do if we have not done so already is, as far as our other social media connections, our phone, things like that, we definitely need to have time where we disconnect from that because already having that together time so much, in addition to having the ability for anyone to contact you at any time, is completely overwhelming. So we need to find a time each day to completely unplug. I even think it's good to unplug the television because having that in the background at all times does nothing for us at all. It just is more mental clutter, and we definitely need to disconnect at some point. So we want to make sure anything that beeps or dings or unnecessary noise just has a time during the day where it's just going to be silent. At minimum, we definitely need to unplug for a while. I think any one of our loved ones, even though we want to stay connected to them, can understand that there will be a point in each day that nobody can get in touch with us. I think that is fair. It's just a short amount of time, but it is such a necessary amount of time. I also think it's very important that we really do have that conversation with the people that we are in a house with right now because they really will understand. They are probably experiencing the same thing too, and it is healthy for each person in the house or apartment or wherever you are to have their individual time alone. So, if again you are a parent, it is a wonderful idea to, have a time where you take care of the kids so the other person can have some time alone and then you kind of switch off. but everyone needs time alone. If you do have children, again, they need time alone. So it is important that you do have that conversation. And I think that usually it goes a lot more smoothly than we anticipate. Another thing that we can do is to simply get up earlier than other people in the house to have that time alone. So there's absolutely no guilt involved there. If you are up early before everybody else is, you have that time to yourself to be creative or to meditate or do yoga or write in a journal, but you have that time before people start needing things from you or start asking you questions or even talking to you. A lot of times it's just good to have that time to yourself in the morning. I know for myself, that is something that would be very difficult for me to not have. I absolutely need to have that solitude in the morning. It really sets the tone for my entire day. So it would be worth it for me personally to sacrifice a little bit of sleep to have that time. And maybe that means that you can get to bed a little earlier to kind of compensate for that. But that is one strategy that I think can be extremely effective for kind of stealing that time. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to do this or resist this, but I also really think that spending time exercising is a wonderful chance to really experience time alone and have it also be productive. But it is a wonderful stress relief, and it is something, of course, that you can do all by yourself and have that time to yourself. It's even more wonderful if it is possible for you to exercise outdoors because you get that added benefit of nature. And I know for a lot of people, there are some restrictions about going outside right now. And of course, we want to abide by whatever restrictions are there. But if you're able to get outside, if you're able to go for a walk, that is a wonderful way to really clear your mind. And like I said earlier, I think another wonderful way to spend time alone is in meditation. I can't think of anything that could be more valuable to our mental and emotional health. It is something that I personally practice every single day and has truly changed my life and added this sense of peace that I never had before I started my meditation practice. So if it's something that you have not tried before, I greatly recommend it. And you can start small. You can start just by trying to meditate even 5 or 6 minutes and slowly build up from there. But that is a wonderful practice, as is yoga. And again, now is the perfect time to attempt to do yoga. And I know a lot of people are intimidated by it, but again, it is something that you are working towards every single day. It's another practice. So, no, you may not be completely flexible and able to do all the poses at the beginning of when you start to do the practice, but it is something that you will gain ability in and get better at the more you stick with it. So that is another thing that you can do. And my last suggestion for alone time is journaling. I know I talk about journaling a lot, but it's something that has also greatly enhanced my life. And it really helps bring clarity to your thoughts. That's what I like about it. A lot of times when you sit down and you start to journal, you don't have something in mind that you want to journal about a lot of times. You just let whatever is supposed to come out just kind of appear on the page. And it will often unveil a lot of feelings that you're having and a lot of emotions and a lot of issues that maybe otherwise you would push away. So there are a lot of benefits to journaling. And it's also good to just feel like you're having a safe way to truly express your real feelings. So you know that it is a private journal that no one else is going to read, that is just for you, and you have the ability to say whatever you need to say, even if it's something that you could not express to other people. So, those are just a few different ways that you can kind of steal some moments to yourself. But I also wanted to talk about some of the things that you could be doing If you have a lot of time on your hands, let's say that you are not quarantined with other people, you have time to yourself and that you are fully rested and you've had plenty of solitude and you are looking for some activities that can really make good use of that solitude. So, one of the things that I think is a wonderful thing to do is to kind of express our gratitude by writing letters to people that we love. And especially elderly people really love getting letters, but I think everybody loves getting letters. So if you can write letters to, let's say, your grandparents, if they're still alive, your aunts and uncles, your friends that you haven't seen in a while, it is such a touching thing to get a letter from someone, an actual handwritten letter. I just sent out a whole bunch of letters to a whole bunch of different people, and it felt so good. And I am so excited for these people to receive letters because I know that a lot of people are feeling very isolated right now. And we can really spend our time in solitude, really cultivating our relationships kind of behind the scenes. So, doing this wonderful kindness for other people that is really going to be very, very meaningful to them and also remind you how much you really do love them. So, I think that is a wonderful thing that you can do. Another thing, and I might be a little biased here, is I think getting in touch with our inner artist is something that can be very, very beneficial. I feel that creativity is such a huge part of life, and creativity is such a big part of my own personal life. I play guitar. I also like to paint and draw. I like to dance. I like to do all kinds of different things that have to do with the arts. So I always encourage other people to kind of explore this area if it's not something that they normally do, or if it's something that you do normally do, now you have the time to really explore. A lot of people play an instrument, but they have it really just sitting in a box somewhere or in the closet. They don't really have time for it anymore. So why not take the time now to kind of dust that off and play that instrument and get inspired about music again? Or the same thing with art or some kind of other project. Some people like to, let's say, knit or crochet. There's so many different creative avenues. You could write your very first novel, but think of ways that you can really get in touch with your inner artist, really express yourself, because I think that really does enhance our life overall. Another great thing to do right now is to have kind of a life audit to really think about our life, the direction that it's going, really get in touch with our feelings. And when we have this time, really establish whether or not we are on the path that we think is ultimately best for us. It's also a wonderful time to really set some new goals for ourselves. So, if we aren't on the right path, or if we feel that we have some habits that aren't best for us, or aspects of our life that really aren't serving us anymore, those are the things that we really need to consider right now. We need to get our priorities straight and figure out, again, if we want a new direction, how we're going to get there. What goals can we set for ourselves? We want to get excited about the future. We want to really make great use of this time. Another thing that we can do is plan for when this quarantine is over. Think about the things that we've always wanted to do that we haven't done yet. Our life is going to return to normal at some point, and we want to think about some awesome possibilities for the future. We don't want to continue on what we've been doing day after day and having a life on repeat, which was probably the case before this all happened and certainly is the case now. We want to spice it up. We want to do things that are exciting, and I'm sure we will be ready for adventure and for trying new things and having new experiences and maybe going on vacation. And if we've been trapped in a house for a while, we are probably going to want to see some other things. So it's a great time to do some research. figure out where you would like to go, what you would like to do, and that is also going to get you inspired because a lot of people have been saying how bored they are and how that is really killing their motivation and their inspiration. So, really getting excited about the future can certainly help us to keep momentum and to help keep us inspired. And my last suggestion is to just do things that aren't digital in general. So I am sure that we've been watching a lot of TV. You've probably done a lot of Netflix binging, and that is fine. We all do it. Like I said in my last podcast, I just watched the entire Tiger King series, and that is really, really out of character for me. But hey, we are home and we are making adjustments, and we're probably doing a lot of things that we wouldn't normally do. So I just encourage you to really do some things that are not digital. So maybe learn to dance in your house. You can, watch some YouTube clips. You can read. I can't say enough about reading always when we can intellectually stimulate ourselves. That is so rewarding. Maybe you can learn a new recipe or learn how to cook in general. Cooking is definitely not one of my best skills, but it's something that I have been exploring during this time because this is really the first time I have personally had to really spend on that, and it's been pretty enjoyable. But I think what's going to negatively impact our mental health at this time the most is just spending time in this digital world and just aimlessly scrolling for hours on social media. And, we don't want to admit that we are doing that, but so many people are doing that because it seems like there are no other options and it's just quick and easy entertainment. But it is actually going to get very boring when we do that, and it doesn't really enhance our life very much. And there are so many other things that we can be doing if we just use a little creativity. And it's certainly going to give this time a lot more enjoyability if we put the effort into trying to do some of these other activities. So just remember, this is a unique time in your life, and we want to think about right now solitude as being a gift to us. So if it's a gift that we can only have for 20 or 30 minutes a day because we are with all these other people, we want to really cherish that time and make sure that we really do take that time every single day. We have to make it an essential part of our day. And if we are experiencing lots and lots and lots of solitude right now because we are, again, in quarantine and alone, we want to just make great use of that time. And again, realize that it really is a gift. This is something that you are giving to yourself. You are spending time with the most important person in your life, which is yourself. So just make sure that you really reap the benefits of this time and spend it doing things that are productive and meaningful for you as much as you can. So I just wanted to send so much love out to everyone. I know this is just such a weird time. It is completely surreal. Nobody is exactly sure how to act or what to do because, we have not really set up a new normal yet. So we are just getting the hang of this. Be patient with yourself, but please do make sure for your own sanity that you do spend time alone by yourself, absolutely without guilt and without exception. And remember that this time you don't want to be a wasted time. We don't want it to be just time that is fast forwarded or forgotten or, not counted as a meaningful, significant part of your life. This part of your life counts, and we don't know how long we're going to be in this situation. So find a way to make it positive for you. And remember that time alone, solitude, they are not selfish, they are necessary. So that's where I am going to end it for today. I hope this was helpful to you. And I want to remind you that we will be having an upcoming questions and answers podcast. So if you have questions you have not gotten to me yet, please go ahead and do so. You can reach me on my email, and that is nena.lavonne@gmail.com, and that is spelled nena.lavonne at Gmail. And you can also reach me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Nena Lavonne. Thank you all so much for being a part of this amazing digital family, and I greatly look forward to talking to you next time. Have an absolutely extraordinary day, everyone.